What's up, guys? We are back for another review. We're taking a look today at the latest from Bandai Tamashii Nation's Star Wars line with the Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi. This makes the fourth Obi-Wan Kenobi figure in the Figuarts line. We got to be done by now, right? So we've got this guy here in the standard retail version of the SH Figuarts packaging. You can see Obi there in the big window with all his accessories, and then the back has got some product shots and a rather good looking recreation of the scene on Mustafar where he's fighting Anakin. So all around the normal stuff that you expect to get from Figuarts. So let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi from Bandai Tamashii Nations. This is one I've been looking forward to for a very long time. This is my favorite version of Obi-Wan from the prequels. And I mean, it's the perfect counterpart to the Revenge of the Sith Anakin, which I really loved. So this guy is one I was definitely looking forward to, and it's definitely a marked improvement over the Black Series. That's a figure that I have not liked pretty much ever. I had it just because I'm a completist and that's what I do, but I've never really cared for that figure. And this is, no matter how you put it, a much needed upgrade just to having a nice Obi-Wan in the line, in the collection. I do have a few gripes with this guy, nothing too crazy. In general, I think we're looking at a really solid Figuarts release. So let's take a look real quick at Articulation. I don't think there's a lot to be surprised about here, but there is some stuff to talk about. So we'll start at the head, and you can move him backwards and forwards, really far down, really. You've got that articulated neck. You've got a ball hinge as normal. So bobble side to side, back and forth, rotate, the whole 9 yards. So he's got really good range of motion at the neck. Arms go out, rotate forward. You do have a bicep cut up here, so you can kind of rotate around. It's pretty tight. The tolerance is pretty tight, but you can move it. It's just all part of that sculpt there. You have got the single jointed elbow, but it's better than 90. They've worked it in with the sculpt there as well with the robes. And then you've got the ball hinged wrists. You do have a twist at the waist, backwards, forwards. Not much side to side at all. The lightsaber hilt, of course, as usual, if you keep this on his waist, is movable. It's just a straight peg just to help with posing. Legs are able to go out, kick forward, kick back. They are a drop-down joint, though, so you can push them up, pull them down to increase the height or help with posing. You've got that single-jointed knee, again, better than 90. And then you've got some rocker, and you've got up and down, rotation, and then of course toe articulation down there on the feet and ankles. So pretty standard stuff for the line, but he is pretty posable, and you should be able to get him into some pretty dynamic positions. And of course they want you, to pose him with Anakin, so he is ready to be put into a battle position for sure. Now, of course, with just about every Star Wars Figuarts review, the look is where it really matters. Not to mention the fact that, they do have fantastic articulation. It's always a thing. We have to talk about what they look like, specifically that head sculpt. How does he stack up to the Black Series? So we'll do a comparison to the Black Series, to the other Obi-Wans as well in the Figuarts line. But at a cursory glance, I really don't have a lot to gripe about with this figure. We'll talk about the head in a second, but as far as the body goes, it's as good or better than any other Jedi we've seen in the line so far. It is very similar to the others, don't get me wrong, that's just how it works because they have very similar designs, but there are subtle things that are different with this particular figure, specifically from the other Obi-Wans. So we do have a different belt. It's similar, don't get me wrong, they all are very similar, but at the same time they do have very small differences, different paint choices, different canisters, different pouches. Obi-Wan's belt on the backside in particular is very different compared to his Episode 2 counterparts. The outer robes are very similar to other Jedi, but the inner robes are very different. The brown in particular, that color is not the same, and then the sculpt is different as well. Obviously, Obi-Wan's biggest difference is that he has these really glossy but dark red boots, which frankly I love. I think they work really well. They pop against the rest of the figure. The finish is fantastic. The paint choice works nicely. Just from an aesthetic sense, I think the figure looks really nice just standing still like this. And then you've got, the nice flowing robes that go down the arms, and I think it works really well with how they've done the articulation for this particular body. So I think it all just kind of is a nice little package. And Obi-Wan very much looks like his Episode 3 counterpart. I don't have really anything to gripe about when it comes to this body choice, or the paint, or any of the small little details. Of course, the big thing is the head sculpt. I'm not going to discount that at all. The head sculpt is where it's at. The head sculpt is really all that matters because we do have so many similarities with the other bodies. I kind of knew what we were getting before ever taking this guy out of the box, just because I've handled what, 5, 6 prequel Jedis at this point, so we knew what was going on. I really just wanted to see how this head sculpt looks, and frankly, I do think it looks really nice. I have one slight gripe about this figure, and it comes into the paint details on the face. I think that the hair has a little just too much gloss to it, the hair on the head and the beard. And this isn't the same kind of issue that Jedi Luke has where he's really gold and shiny. This is just really glossy in comparison to the skin tone. And the wash on the inside of the hair almost looks a little heavy-handed. It's a minor gripe, don't get me wrong. I don't really have a problem with it. It certainly isn't ruining this figure or detracting in any way. It's just something that I keep seeing, so it's something to make note of. I do think that it shines a little too much, whereas the face definitely doesn't. Otherwise, though, I think it's a pretty solid likeness to Ewan McGregor. I'm curious to see if and when we get a Black Series change, how they will compete with this, because I think this is a pretty solid one. I do think this is another instance with Figuarts where the figure does look a little better at an angle than dead on. The same will go with the extra head sculpt we get, but the details are nice, the eyes are clean and crisp, and just everything about it I think is pretty solid. You've even got that little mole that's on his forehead too, so they've even got that tiny detail, which is really what seals it for me. But if I had to say one negative about the figure overall, it's that I just have an issue with the glossiness in that hair, but otherwise I think the sculpt and the paint is pretty well on point here. Of course, here is our comparison to the other SH Figuarts Obi-Wan Kenobis in the prequel era. We'll look at the other one shortly. But you can see that there is a definite similarity between all three. They do have slight changes in their tunics, in their robes, in their boots, color choices, palette swaps, things like that. I do think that without a doubt, this is the best Obi-Wan we've got so far. This I think trumps all the others. I was really happy with Episode 1 Obi-Wan. Episode 2 kind of let me down. The face is pretty rough on that one. It's also my least preferred look for Obi-Wan. So this one really had a lot riding on it for me personally, just from a preference standpoint, and I think they really hammered it home on this one. The head sculpt really does it for me. You can see, though, that the other two have the same kind of hair gloss issue that this one does, so it's not unique to this Obi-Wan figure. It's really not unique to any figure. Most of the Figuarts line have something similar to this. It's just still kind of a thing to mention. Otherwise, though, I think they definitely go well together. You've got kind of a progression of Obi-Wan, but you're looking at the latest and greatest for sure. They have definitely improved since that first figure. And because why not, here is the newest Obi-Wan with the old Obi-Wan. So we've got our A New Hope Obi-Wan here, and there's really no comparison. There's nothing to compare against here. Likenesses are nothing alike. Builds are nothing alike. Just here you go. If you want to know what they look like side by side, you can see very much that we have just a fantastic looking Obi-Wan. I did have my gripes with this guy for sure, but I kind of came around towards the end with how I like to have him displayed, and I think this particular configuration is the best way to have Episode 4 Obi-Wan displayed. But this guy, this looks really nice compared to all the other Obi-Wans. I think they kind of put it in a perspective that this one is definitely the best by far. But here's the one everybody would really want to see, our Figuarts versus our Black Series, and there is zero comparison. This is easily one of the worst figures in the entire line for my tastes. There's really no redeeming qualities about this one. This looks like a toy. This very much looks like something that a collector would purchase and display. Everything's really glossy. There's really no face sculpt on this guy. It's an ugly figure. I'm not really going to sugarcoat it. So yeah, this is one that I've already said I've really not enjoyed ever. I only have it because that's what I do, but they definitely do not compare to each other. This thing is far and away the superior action figure. Now, as far as accessories goes, as you can see, I've already changed Obi-Wan up here, so he does, of course, have an extra head, but he does come with a bunch of stuff. He's got a pretty decent spread. Of course, the main thing to talk about right away is the head sculpt, and it's similar enough to the regular one. Obviously, that head is a very neutral expression. This is a more screaming, more angry face, but it's very similar, and I do think that it looks very much like Ewan McGregor. It's still a little off in some ways, but I think it looks really nice from an angle. I do think the one real problem that I have with both heads is that the paint on the beard and on the head is a little glossy for my taste, but overall I think the likeness is solid, and again, it's a case where this still blows the Black Series out of the water. There's really no comparison. We of course have got lightsaber accessories, the whole 9 yards when it comes to that. So you've got the unignited hilt that's been on his belt the entire time. So we've seen this before. Silver, black, gold, nice sculpt, very clean. And then we have got the ignited blade here. So you've got a standard lightsaber. We've seen this guy before as well. Translucent blue blade, the same exact hilt. And then we have 4 extra sets of hands for Obi-Wan as well. So we have got a pair of open palm, splayed finger hands. We've got a pair of hands for holding lightsabers straight up and down. We've got his 2-finger pose hand. We've got a kind of Jedi mind trick style hand. And then we have another set of lightsaber holding hands that are more at an angle. So they are cut a specific way so that the lightsaber can sit in his hands, and you can point them upwards at an angle, or you can point it down towards the ground a little bit better. So I like the options there. Of course, you know, the telltale Obi-Wan hand is the one with the 2 fingers, but he comes with a lot of options here. You can do a lot of different poses with this particular figure, and they of course want you to put this guy into a battle pose with Anakin, so that's why I think we have a couple different options for those lightsaber gripping hands. So at the end of the day, this is a pretty solid figure. Frankly, it's just about everything I wanted it to be. My only real gripe, my only real negative, and it's barely a negative at that, is the glossiness in the beard and the hair, and it's just because I can't stop noticing it. It keeps kind of gnawing at me. Otherwise, I think the likeness is pretty solid. The build is really good. Colors are nice. Those boots really pop. He comes with a great spread of accessories, and frankly, when you get this guy next to that Black Series Obi-Wan, it is a tremendous difference. Frankly, I didn't realize how bad that figure truly was until I got him next to this one. There is no comparison. This is the end-all be-all Obi-Wan in this particular scale for sure, and it's easily one of the centerpieces of the prequel collection as far as Figuarts goes. He will make a fine companion with your Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker. There is no doubt about it. So that's going to do it for this look at the SH Figuarts Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.